When I started my first real job at 17, I was so excited that I would now be able to buy what I wanted without having to rely on my parents. I quickly realized after my first paycheck that I wasn't getting as much as I initially thought I would be. It was enough to buy the basics such as food, clothes, and to help me save up for a new mountain bike, but there is no way someone could happily live off minimum wage as a career. Many people want to raise the minimum wage, but the benefits just don't outweigh the negative effects it will cause. Minimum wage jobs should be for young people so they can gain skills to move on to higher paying jobs. I've been doing a lot of research into the topic of minimum wage, and I've become very informed on the issue. I will be first discussing the issue of raising minimum wage to $15 an hour, which is what many people are wanting. Secondly, I'm going to explain how raising it will negatively affect our economy and debunk people who think it is a good idea to raise it. I'm going to give a better solution than to simply double the minimum wage. The idea in theory sounds good, but once you really look into it and better understand the effects, it starts to sound not as good. The federal minimum wage is currently set at $7.25 an hour, but almost half of our states where the cost of living is higher have a higher minimum wage as well. California, for example, has a minimum wage set at $12 an hour. Many people argue that we need to raise the minimum wage to $15, but it could cause inflation to increase and other negative effects to occur. For example, an article by Forbes, it states, large corporations with big budgets will weigh the increased labor costs and elect to invest in technology to displace workers. This means if minimum wages increase, then big companies will find ways to replace workers and automate tasks, because it'll be cheaper for them. In turn, this will take jobs away from our economy. In an article by Investopedia.com, they say the primary argument in favor of raising the minimum wage is that higher earnings would improve overall standard of living for minimum wage workers. This again sounds good in theory, but if everyone is making more money, then price of products we buy will also increase, which is called inflation. Now that I have explained the problems of raising the minimum wage to $15 an hour, the second point I want to explore is the causes. A minimum wage job should be used to gain skills from to move on to higher paying jobs, but unfortunately in America, millions are making their livings off these low paying jobs. Many Americans argue that by raising the minimum wage will give workers more money, which is not entirely true. EconomicHealth.org stated that an effect of higher minimum wages is that firms respond to an increase in cost by passing some of the costs onto the consumer. The price of items after an increase in minimum wage will cost more since businesses are forced to spend more to keep their employees. So you'll be making more money, but you will also have to be spending more money. An argument for raising the minimum wage by thebalance.com states, workers who can cover the cost of living have better morale. They are more productive if they have better standard of living. Again, this is not entirely true because inflation will occur and businesses will have to increase their prices and maybe lay off employees if they can't afford to pay them the new increased minimum wage. Now that I have given an overview of the problem and discussed the causes, lastly I'm going to provide a solution to the raising of the minimum wage. One solution that could work is if we adopt a system that many other countries have in place, where instead of politicians deciding the minimum wage, instead a committee of economic experts meet once a year. This would be a much better system because politicians can never make decisions in a timely manner, and that is why we've had the same minimum wage for 10 years. Also, it would be decided by people who are very knowledgeable on the subject. This will allow the minimum wage to be adjusted each year accordingly, and it will keep up with inflation rather than causing it. According to theatlantic.com, Australia's minimum wage is around $15 these days. France is around $12 for almost a year now. American fast food workers have been going on strike to demand that kind of pay. By putting in place a system where minimum wage is increased each year, we can please minimum wage workers and keep inflation in check. Today we could safely raise the minimum wage to $10.50 an hour, but $15 an hour is just too much and have too many negative effects. Today I've given you an overview of why Americans want an increase in minimum wage and why there could be negative effects. In conclusion, I encourage you to rethink a raise in minimum wage to $15 an hour and think of what it would do to our economy. Most of us have worked minimum wage jobs and know how badly we want to get paid more, but it could come with consequences if we raise it too much. I hope you've gained a better understanding of why we shouldn't raise the minimum wage to $15 an hour, but instead make a new system where minimum wage will keep up with inflation. Thank you.